Hello and welcome to the Cottage at Woodland Corners. Today we're making baked basa. So I have my hard lemonade that I have hardened even more with some Tito's. So one of my friends gave me this Tito's handmade vodka, which I guess it's sort of up in the air if it's actually vodka. Someone told me there's some question about how it's made and whether or not it should be called vodka. They are not a sponsor. This channel is small and not sponsored, at least not at the time I'm making this video, but just that snap you just heard, that is a happy snap. I had this weird thing with fruit flies, and I mean, I've seen fruit flies before, but this was beyond what I had ever seen. And a friend of mine lent me a indoor bug zapper, and every time that thing snaps, my heart warms because that is one more fruit fly down. And yes, I have tried all of the remedies and some of them worked really well, but just were not doing the trick. So this thing is in my house and making me happy because I don't like bugs in the house. So we'll see what finally happens with that. There are some other alternatives that are a little bit more toxic, but for now, when you hear that snap, it's a happy snap. In the meantime, this is made in Austin, Texas, where the Cottage at Woodland Corners is. So this is a homemade, well, not homemade like in my kitchen, but this is made here at home in Austin, Texas. And so, I feel like it's good to try it. I will say this stuff packs a punch. It's I have had martinis before. I'm a big martini lover, and as much as I have tried to do the traditional gin martini, I will say that I prefer a vodka martini, which it may be sacrilege to some people, but there it is. But Tito's vodka is got a hit to it. Let me just say that I cannot drink it like I drink other vodkas or even bourbons or any kind of whiskeys. It's a lot harsher in the end. It's still not a bad drink. It's just you have to drink it a little more carefully. So let's take it easy. I like that tinkle, the ice cube tinkle. Anyway, today we're baking basa, which is a type of light white fish. I like fish. The fish that I normally go for is pan-seared tuna is probably my favorite, those big tuna steaks. But I like them very rare. I like to have it just barely seared or blackened tuna, that kind of thing. And I am huge on sushi and sashimi. So any of that, I have nothing against seafood. I'm not allergic to it and I love it. So, big on shrimp and also really enjoy oysters. I'm huge on oysters. As long as someone is willing to shuck them or send them my way on a half shell, I will eat oysters. And yes, I have gotten sick eating oysters, but that has not curbed it for me. I love seafood. And for someone who loves it, it's kind of strange that I don't really cook it that much. And I'm not actually really good cooking seafood. I like to eat it, but it's not something that's like a strong suit for me. And I guess it doesn't help that it's generally fairly expensive. So as much as I like it, it's sort of a eat out treat. There's places that I enjoy here in Austin, restaurants. We have loads of great restaurants that do a really nice, pan-seared tuna that do great sushi. So, I have plenty of opportunities to eat it without making it. But I decided to go ahead and give it a shot to make some fish fillets. And I didn't want to spend an arm and a leg. I just was like, if I can't do this affordably, then it's just not worth it to do it at home. So I don't have a thing against catfish. I know that's a pretty inexpensive fish, but I like the light fillets okay for baked fish. I've even had baked salmon, baked trout, things like that. So I'm okay with baked fish, but like I say, I like the big robust tuna steaks and raw raw fish in the sushi, but I decided to give it a shot. I looked at what they had on sale and what was on offer, and they had this big bag of Basa Fillets, frozen and individually wrapped, and I thought, let me try it. I mean, here it is. It's in a bag. It just looks like a white fish fillet. How, what could be the problem with it, right? Like, even if it's less expensive, let me go home. I'm sure there's all kinds of ideas about how to cook this. So let me look and see what people are doing with it, and then I can cook it up how I think I would like it. And that's what I did. So I went ahead, got the bag of Basa Fillets, looked it up. And of course, anytime you look up seafood, it's terrifying, right? They always have these disclaimers about, mercury in the water, toxins in the water, farm-raised fish as opposed to wild-caught. So there's all these things to consider when you do seafood. And I'm not here to tell anybody, what they should tolerate, what they shouldn't tolerate. Obviously try to go eco-friendly, I suppose. I saw mainly things about parasites and bacteria with this particular fish. And of course, the advice was all the same, just cook it really well. So it's not like some kind of sushi grade fish or something that you're going to eat raw or, barely cooked. It's something that you definitely have to bake. So I went ahead and baked some. First ones that I tried, I did them flat on a metal pan, like a baking pan. It didn't really come out how I wanted it. It was edible, like I could eat it, but it wasn't something I would be proud to serve a guest. It was, I thought, a little mushy, even though I did bake it long enough to where they say it's supposed to be flaky, and I think I did bake it to the point where it was, considered flaky, but it just was kind of mushy. And that's part of the problem that I have when I make fish, or when I used to make fish or try to make fish, is that I just never could get that consistency that you get when you go into a nice restaurant and you order fish. So with this one, I looked it up and I decided to give it a shot, and I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, and it still just didn't come out how I wanted it. But one of the things I thought was, what would happen if you cooked it on a rack? Like if you had it, up a ways, where it wasn't just flat on the pan, where the bottom of it wasn't just sitting in, the oils and the juices that come out of the fish. What if you had it kind of up where it could drip, and then it would cook kind of more dry? Would that sort of help the consistency? I believed that it would. And so for this video, I did use my roasting pan rack. I just set it on top of my baking sheet with some tin foil. Just put some tin foil on top of it, and decided that would help with cleanup a little bit. And yeah, I'm glad I did that. So, good advice here is, if you're going to cook it on a rack, if you're going to raise it up a bit, I definitely recommend having something to catch the grease and the drippings, because you're not going to want to be scrubbing that pan. Even with the tin foil, it was cleanup was still a little bit of a chore, more of a chore than I enjoy. So that was, I think I came up with a decent way to make the basa. It came out much better. It was like, more crispier and a little bit more of that restaurant style that I would enjoy if I was ordering more baked fish, when I go out to eat. So this recipe, I feel like, is a good recipe that I could serve a guest and be happy with, and also made some sides with it that I will be presenting in a couple of other videos. It's like I did a whole meal dish with this, and then went ahead and just recorded each piece of it in the meantime, so that I'm not going to subject you to all of them at once in this single video. So I will break them up a little bit so that you have the sides that go with it. We're serving it with roast cauliflower and also bulgur wheat, and there'll be a little bit of a story about why I use bulgur wheat as opposed to rice, and that's for another episode. So for this episode, we're doing a light white flaky fillet, the basa, and you should be able to find it, I think, if I can find it, in my local grocer in the freezer section. Yes, they are frozen, and yes, I did thaw them out a little bit before I put them in. So I rinsed them down, and that's, I guess, a good thing to mention, is that I did open up the individual packs. I did wash these, like rinse them off, get the ice crystals off, just rinse them nicely, and then pat them dry before I did the prep that you're going to see. So you're not going to see the clean the fish prep, but I did clean them, literally, rinse them off. And so, yes, be sure and rinse your fish if you're using frozen. You can, from what I saw, put these in while they're frozen. But this, just the way I was doing the episodes and doing all of the cooking and prep for all these different things at once today, it just turned out that this was thawed a little bit before it finally went in the oven, and it really didn't take that long for it to thaw. Like literally, the prep for one of the other dishes was all the time it needed to become flexible. But I think you'll enjoy it if you like fish, or if you're not allergic to fish and you're looking for a good recipe. If you would like to incorporate more fish into your diet, but it's a pricey thing, the frozen fish section is there, just like the frozen chicken section, or frozen meats are available, and they are generally less expensive. It's still not as cheap as a bag of frozen chicken, but it was a lot cheaper than, for example, a giant salmon fillet that you're going to get like in the fresh fish section of your grocer. So I think with that, let's get cooking. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to like and subscribe. That'll make sure that you see a lot more cottage content on your feed for YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.